before people come into the chat. Meant to do this 2 days ago, but things happen. Um, so, hey everyone, I'm Just A Contrarian. That's the actual YouTube name and the title I go by here. Um, Obviously not my real name, uh, but some people just call me Contrarian for short, or you can call me J.A.C. It doesn't matter to me. um, Again, I call myself just a contrarian, not because I actually am a contrarian. Far from it, actually. I'm rather conventional on most issues. On most issues, I'm rather conventional, not contrarian at all. I only use that because when I do disagree with people on some issue, the fact that I can well articulate my reasons against some claim often rubs people the wrong way. And people often misconstrue critical thinking for being a contrarian. But they're not the same. A critical thinker is just gonna let is just gonna weigh claims on that on the evidence for and against them. And so often things that are common knowledge on, you know, under under scrutiny don't hold weight. They turn out to be false or at least dubious at best. And because this quote unquote common knowledge, people will feel like they're being attacked because you are attacking them on something they believe. So, however, that's different from being a contrarian. A contrarian will just choose the minority view on any major, you know, viewpoint just because taking the minority taking the contrary or minority viewpoint on some claim makes them seem like the smartest person in the room sometimes. I have no desire to look like the smartest person in the room. As a matter of fact, if I think I am the smartest person in the room, I'm not in a good place unless I'm around, unless I'm like teaching children. Aside from teaching children, I do not desire to be the smartest one in the room. So I have no desire to be a contrarian. Now, if I happen to teach someone something, that's cool. But I'd rather learn something than be taught some than teach someone else something. Yeah, I mean, depending. Anyway, that's the little behind the scenes with my YouTube designation. This stream is basically gonna be on me shitting on Facebook, and it's well deserved at this point. As they've been doing a lot of questionable things recently, and starting to affect a lot of people. I thought this was a random thing, and I'm finding out now it's actually rather widespread. But I want to get into once there's a little bit, few people in the room. I see one person so far, but want a few people to jump into the room. And I have set a goal for gifts, so that would be another reason I want other people to jump into the stream as well. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna be highly critical of Meta, Facebook in particular, and its creator. So I can do that because I'm not on their platform. And I'm on a platform created by someone who is likely smarter and more, if not smarter, at least more socially well adjusted. So, but yeah, it's become apparent that there are problems the with Meta's platform as they redesignated themselves. Meta it used to be just formerly Facebook, but as they've acquired multiple intellectual properties, they redesigned themselves Meta to stand for the failed attempt of them starting a social media where it was all going to be in the metaverse. So then they renamed themselves Meta after the metaverse, which was a huge commercial flop. I knew it was going to be a flop back then. I think most people realized it was going to be a flop because no one wanted to be involved with it. What's up, Carlton? But so apparently, so it's no secret that Mark Zuckerberg, with his company, came under a lot of scrutiny last year. I mean, after the whistleblowers came out and said how Meta was being run, how they prioritized engagement on their platform over the safety of the users, particularly minors. What's up? What's up, Shadow? Um, and because of that, I guess they redesigned their software with generative AI to police their platforms, particularly Facebook and Instagram. Not so sure that WhatsApp is is run by the same AI, and it's supposed to be end to end encrypted. But like one of my friends who's an expert in cybersecurity has said, it's not secure. I mean, think of it this way: anything that's free is not secure. You should always you should always have that in your forethought that any sort of thing you can do for free online is not secure. Okay, that should be certain. Now, if you're paying for it, that's different. Uh, there was a WhatsApp when Mark Zuckerberg first acquired WhatsApp. He made it into a platform where you had to pay for it, and now but most people rejected it. The irony was, and Mark did bring this up himself, is that although you had to pay, he was going to make WhatsApp a platform you had to pay for. That would have made it more secure and free of ads. But people were used to free stuff, which is not free. What you're paying for, how you're paying for this, for these free apps, is with your personal data. And most of these social media platforms collect and organize all your personal data, and they sell it to data brokers online. And then those data brokers auction off your personal information. That's how they make money. I mean, even when I worked in lead generation, like the marketing company I worked for did the same thing. Like from all the data, so they would buy a bunch of personal data that we could use to call people, for purposes of our, you know, trying to connect them with different banks and financial service businesses for like mortgage refinancing and other sorts of financial products. But with the data that they had, I mean, obviously a lot of it wasn't usable in terms of being able to call people and get them to, refinance their homes or do payday loans or other sorts of financial services. So they would just sell their information as well to data brokers, and then our company will also buy information from data brokers on which to so that we could call people. Um, so I'm just giving you guys a little bit of insight into lead generation, direct and network marketing, and all this sort of stuff. So all these people who call you up on the phone, you should be nice to them because, mind you, they have your data. The nicest thing you could do is just be polite and say, "Can you take me off your calling list?" Mind you, if they do call you up again, it wasn't because they're trying to get over on you. Usually, it can take up to 30 days for them to for you to be recycled for that calling list to be completely cold. Now, what is messed up though, and this is what you should be mad at, is that just because they take you off that calling list doesn't mean they don't have your number on another calling list. So by law, as long as they removed you from that calling list on which you were being called, they can still call you on another one. And I know that's messed up, right? That's messed up. I'm just giving you guys some insights. But again, the best thing to do is just be polite and say, "Can you move me off this calling list?" If you get called up again, just remind them. Now, there can be a point where there's harassment, and this is how a lot of people have successfully sued companies like the one I work for and others. Is if they're still calling you up on that same calling list repeatedly, because they can like although their system, depending on what sort of software they're using, and there's many different types of software out there. So the software, like I said, itself can take several days before they remove you, but they can manually take you off too. So if you're talking to a nice enough sales telephone rep, they can just manually remove you off the list so they don't harass you, especially if they known that we've called you several times that day already. Because we'll see the same number recycled. Like, I just called this guy. Like, that used to bother me. Like, I'm letting you know, on the other end of the phone, we ourselves would get annoyed when we notice that we've called the same person over and over again. I'm like, dog, I just called this person like 2 times already. I was like, all right, so if the person wasn't an asshole, I'm just gonna go ahead and manually remove them myself. And like I said, so the people who think they're gonna get their shit off by cussing these people off, cussing these people out, and threatening them and saying all sorts of crazy stuff over the phone, which by the way, our calls are recorded. So not a great idea to probably threaten criminal activities on a telephone rep. But leaving that aside, it's not it's not helpful either because if they're people, you understand, we're people, you're people. You don't want to get called up and harassed on the phone multiple times. We don't want to keep calling the same person over and over again because for one, we're not going to get a we're not going to get a sale. We're not going to get a sale from someone we keep calling, right? We're not going to get a sale from calling the same person over and over again. So if you're nice, we're just like, yeah, I'll remove you. Like I've done that a number of times. I look, I've called one of my clinic my one of my medical coordinators. Um, I was like, this is I was like, hold up, this is my PKU clinical coordinator. I was like, let me take her off this. And I've called and I called a college friend too. I saw and I took them manually off the list. So like I said, just remember that the telephone rep are people too. So if you're polite to them, just like you just like like, look, I know you're doing your job, but I really don't want to get called. Please, can you remove me off the list? And most of the times, unless their rep is a jerk, and again, some telephone reps are jerks, just like some people we call are jerks. You could be you have jerks on both ends of the communique, right? But yeah, if you just like, man, I'm sorry, but I really don't want to, these calls, please. I get these calls 500 times a day. I'm like, not, I'm like, word, I hear you. Now, if I want to do my due diligence, I'll just be like, let me, I'll take you off the list, but at least I was like, have we actually told you why we're calling you? And if they say no, I'd be like, all right, let me just let you hear the spiel. And, if that's not for you, that's what's up. Most people are like, all right. Well, other time they're like, nah, I really don't. I really don't care. Whatever, it's fine as long as they're polite. I don't really care. And the point being is that like, so if we're harassing them, then some people are savvy enough to know if they keep recording the calls every time they get a call from this company, they can sue that company. Now that's not gonna hurt that telephone rep, other than that they shut that business down, that he won't have a job. But if that company gets sued, it doesn't hurt me. It hurts the business. Now, ultimately, it will hurt me if I lose the job because the marketing firm gets shut down. But again, that's what I'm talking about. And I know it sounds like I'm completely off topic. Trust me, I'm gonna circle the wagon back to my point. Okay, since Gary's wild and I'm sure others are like, "What are you talking about?" Um, so like I said, telemarketing is takes a lot of different skill sets. One, you got to be comfortable talking with people. Two, you have to have a tough skin. And three, you got to remember you're talking to people just like yourself. Like, so, and the point is, not only have I been a telephone rep, I've managed call centers, and I even had one overseas with my Filipinos that I work with. And so on Facebook, I actually had a business page up on my personal account uh, that I use to advertise the fact that I offer my services to companies who might want to hire me either as a rep or a manager, or also as I myself can be my own owner of an office because I ran one in the Philippines briefly. And, I was looking to recruit some of them. Um, and so for some reason, like Facebook deleted a post that I posted 2 years ago, claiming that it somehow promoted human trafficking, and I shit you not. That pissed me off on so many levels. One, Being that I am an American descendant of slavery, I would never engage in anything remotely connected to human trafficking. Two, why would I do that on a page for direct marketing and mortgage refinancing? That doesn't make sense, especially being that that business was both under um, my single member LLC, and it had my NMLS ID as well. If you don't know what an MNLS ID is, it's often used by people like loan officers, bank people in banking and financial services. It stands for um, National Multi-State Licensing System. So anytime you're talking to like someone like a loan officer, um, mortgage loans, all that sort of stuff, the person is going to give you their NMLS ID. I don't. I'm not gonna give you my guys my ID number here just because I don't need people trying to dox me and look up my personal information. But like when someone gives you their MNLS ID, that allows you to look that person up and that they um, see whom they are. It gives you their personal information and lets you know that this is a licensed loan officer. Now at the time I wasn't a licensed loan officer. I was training to be a junior loan officer. So I got my NMLS ID back then, a year ago actually. I actually started that page before I had my NMLS ID, but I had already been, managing centers and had my my Filipino business overseas, which started back in 19, right? And it's like, why would I risk my my business and reputation by by promoting something that could be even remotely be construed as human trafficking? So they suspended my account pending a review, which apparently their AI did, and then decided that the initial removal was merited, and then permanently disabled my account. And then I have a professional account which is connected here to my YouTube, and 2 days later, that got suspended as well. And they asked me to give them my ID and do uh, a digital thing, a majig for it here. And so I did. So I went on. So I went onto a video, and they had me like move my heads back and forth, wave or whatever, to show that I'm an actual person, that I wasn't using some sort of AI, which is ironic as fuck that that they're using an AI to check that I'm not AI. Mind you, the review that they did on both accounts was an AI double checking AI. It doesn't make any sense. At a point where a they thought that I went against their community standards, that should have kicked it up to a human reviewer because of the obvious problems with AI. And I think the only reason they is that way is, one, because it's probably cheaper just to have AI check AI than to have human reviewers, which they've probably had millions of complaints that they had to look over against their community standards, certain potential violations, right? But they can afford it. Um, Also, and this is my own personal bias, but I think the other reason why Meta will be comfortable with AI double checking AI is because you have an autistic retard running the fucking company. And yes, I'm gonna say it. I don't care if this video gets demonetized by saying it. He is autistic and a fucking retard. Like, it's obvious there's something wrong with Mark Zuckerberg, that he's neurodivergent. It's fucking obvious. At least Elon Musk has admitted that he had Asperger's syndrome. According to the DSM-5, they no longer use the nomenclature Asperger's syndrome just because it can't be always like when people are diagnosed with autism. Sometimes, depending on the clinician, the the level of severity isn't uniform. Some will see them as having Asperger's, some is not. So it's been subjective. So now they just say it's people are on the autistic spectrum disorder, and you have high functioning folks like Elon and presumably Mark Zuckerberg, and then you have low functioning um, autistic people. I think I think Greta Thunberg is somewhere in the middle. She says her autism is a superpower, but clearly it's not. If it took you to, if you didn't graduate high school till you were 20 years old, autism is not your superpower. I'm sorry. And yeah, you can say, well, she voluntarily dropped out to dedicate her life to environmentalism. That still showed a lack of forethought. You could get more done with credentials and completing your compulsory education than you could delaying it for 3 years. And the fact that she cares nothing about her image is also a sign that she's not a high functioning autistic person. High functioning autistic people don't look retarded like Greta Thunberg. Sorry. And she set back the cause of environmentalism as well. I know I'm going on a tangent. I will. Don't worry, I'll circle it back. But no, I'm just, the reason I'm talking about her and Elon and Mark is because I'm getting on autism. I don't think people who have autism should have any sort of leadership position because I think they fundamentally grasp the ability to work well with others on very on a very human level. And I think Mark is definitely on that level. Like when he's responded to Congress and stuff like that, he comes off like a robot. I mean, they've made fun of they SNL has literally made fun of him for years, and many others as being robotic. South Park has made fun of him, which is libertarian, right leaning. SNL has made fun of him, which is left leaning. The most human I ever seen him was when he started doing MMA, which is fine, but typically people there's a lot and there's a lot of people who are artistic who gravitate towards Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So it makes sense that he's probably autistic. And the fact that he would think it's a good idea to have his AI be checked by other AI instead of having it kicked up to a human reviewer. Because the thing is, so you can get an appeal, so they can do a review. Then after that, there's no other uh, uh, appellate process. Once the I wouldn't have a problem with the AI double checking AI if it comes back with the same conclusion, and they'll be like, well, we know this isn't the decision you would like. Would you like to have a final? You can have one final review on it by a human reviewer. That should be an option. You shouldn't have only one ability to appeal a violation of community standards, which is done by AI, and that's it. Almost as do AI girls really exist? That's not the topic of this discussion. And I'm not trying to be facetious, Omar, but you always come in and try to change the subject. Carden says they turned Zuckerberg into Data from Star Trek and a meme. That's actually an insult to Data. Data Data was a Data was an android searching to be more human. That's actually an insult to Data, and I actually have my Data action figure right, over here in my room. That's actually an insult to Data to me to compare him to Mark Zuckerberg. But I actually saw that here on YouTube too. Like there's a YouTube channel and it was comparing them. But no, Data is a better person, and he's not even real. compared to Mark Zuckerberg. So Mark Zuckerberg is a shitty person, and the fact that he's sitting there trying to, he has a platform talking about community standards when Facebook's whole history is mired in some bullshit is saying a lot. So we're gonna go there. Meta, starting off as Facebook and originally called the Facebook, started in 2003 as a as a website called Face Mash, where he basically rated Harvard students on whether they've seen fuckable or not, hot or not. And on top of that, to do so, he broke into into the university's uh the university's what do you call it, software, their you know, whatever system that holds all the personal information of all the students on campus. He literally broke into that, hacked it so that he could get everyone's personal information for his website, and then used it to have students rate whether they thought each other were hot or not, and called it Face Mash. Um, Carden says these social media customers have no phone number for customer service. You have to chat with AI. Yeah, I mean, like I said, on Meta, there's no way there's no way to appeal to a human reviewer. Like they'll say you can request a review, and that decision will be final. And that's it. But the review isn't done by a person; it's done by Meta's AI program. And of course, there's going to be a lot of false violations of community standards according to Meta's AI, because generative AI is, as I explained to people before, why ChatGPT and Google Gemini are not great tools for for gaining knowledge, is because generative AI are large language models. They're not made to find. They're not. They weren't designed for accuracy. They were designed to be able to retrieve lar- huge d- data sets of information quickly, based on a, based on some information query. That doesn't necessarily lead to accuracy. It just leads to a treasure trove of information being shelled out. Potentially, these large language models are self-correcting, but it takes human input for that self-correction to happen. Given that Meta AI is a large language model, then it has the same flaws. It's not going to be designed for accuracy. It's going to be designed just to churn out information. And that's why there always needs to be a human reviewer in any sort of appeal process, because the AI isn't designed for accuracy, it's designed to churn out information. So AI shouldn't be checking AI. That should just that should just be obvious. Big Red says AI is seeking to be more human though. Not really. You're talking about strong AI. I've done a whole video on that in the past, but to to um to bring that, you know, to be to bring that to like a terse answer to that, we don't have strong AI yet, because AI can't get around um certain features of uh higher co- higher cognitive processes in the mind that we don't yet know how to account for through artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence still can't do several things that human minds can do, such as um, a type of reasoning called reasoning to the best explanation. Um, nor can it account for certain, nor can it account for things like pragmatic implicature, and other things like that. And because the cognitive scientists themselves don't know how to explain it, if they can't explain it, then the AI researchers can't program it. And if the AI researchers can't program it, then that sort of strong AI um they would make our you know, computers and robots more human like, doesn't is far from happening. Okay. Uh, anyway, Carlin says Meta went crazy during the C19. They were burning people left and right. Well, yes, but see, that was because of political pressure, and this is sort of based on political pressure too. So there was political pressure by the Biden administration back then on Meta, on Google, and on Twitter that um, they they had threatened to remove Section C 230, um, or restrict it if these platforms allowed users on their platforms to post either information questioning what was coming from the CDC and NIH, or if they posted contrarian information uh, on COVID, or if they posted, like information claiming that the origins of the virus was in the lab of fucking virology in Wuhan, China. I'll probably get demonetized just for saying that shit. But they had a whole fucking research lab for for virology in Wuhan, in which back all the way in November 2019 there were there were whistleblowers there saying that we have a problem, and they were silenced by their government. And then somehow it became racist to say that there was a lab leak in a virology lab where they were already tinkering with COVID like viruses. That was racist, but saying that people were but saying that poor that Chinese people were eating weird animals in a wet market was less racist. What was the rationale for that? So you thought it was less racist to say that a bunch of people were eating exotic animals in a wet market, and making people think that wet markets were a sinister place to buy food, where two-thirds of the 2/3 of the globe get their food products from a wet market. Not everyone is has the ability to go to Wise Market or Giants or Super Fresh. Like, 2/3 of the world get their food from a wet market, but somehow that wasn't racist. But saying that there was simply a lab leak was racist. So they shut that down. The 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 YouTube news channel The Hill was shut down for like a week or two for posting information about that they themselves didn't say. They were reporting on what someone else said about COVID at the time, and they got shut down for an entire week. And then later, if we found out last year that the Biden administration had came down on all these social media platforms and threatened to remove Section 230, which gives social media and uh, uh, internet companies in general the ability to run their businesses without being sued for the opinions and views of their users. Section 230 is an important aspect of freedom of speech online. And the Biden administration was threatening to either remove it or restrict it if any of these companies did not abide by the official government mandates on what they thought was happening with COVID at the time, coming from fucking uh, Fauci, whatever that dumbass is. The same person who got. Anyway, we're not gonna go there. But yeah, so that was a different thing. That was a case. That was a case of First Amendment infringement. So this is why I don't care about all these people complaining about Trump saying, hey, he's coming down on First Amendment. No, okay, but it was completely cool when the Biden administration made sure that social media couldn't say anything going against the CDC and NIH and Anthony Fauci. Yeah. And what that is called, by the way, is called jawboning. And yes, you can say that Trump was doing some jawboning recently with Jimmy Fallon or whatever. I don't care. Um, I think jawboning is bad when anyone does it. But again, you couldn't say any. I saw so many people thrown in Facebook jail, have posts removed, um, get their accounts suspended. YouTubers get demonetized, posts removed for mentioning anything about COVID if it did not regurgitate verbatim what Anthony Fauci was telling people. Another failure of Facebook. According to the facts, we need that human touch. People have the ability of discernment. Yep. Um, Collins says AI will have reached its peak when it's able to play basketball like Michael Jordan. Well, I, I think you can. I think you can program um, robots have to have high physical ability. It's the cognitive ability that I question, because we know. I mean, we look. We have kinesiology, we have exercise physiology. We know how we know what goes into high athletic. We know what goes into superior athletic performance. We don't know what goes into just regular mental performance. That's the difference. We could program something to have high athletic ability, but just to have normal mental ability is a feat that that our sharpest AI researchers can't figure out yet. That's 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 something, right? Which is why if we have RoboCop, we're not gonna get the we're, we're not gonna get Alex Murphy. We're gonna get the T whatever thing that can't even go up the steps. Colin says people are getting banned for telling people to exercise and take vitamin C. Right. That's the wife saying. She don't know I'm streaming right now. um, but yeah, so getting away from talking about jawboning and First Amendment restrictions and the the pandemic and all of that. But yeah, that was another failure of Facebook. Then let's not forget that they have a huge $5 billion class action settlement against them because of all the misinformation they put out regarding politics and stuff, which is why they started scaling down how all the news that they were putting out. But so after they were called up to after Mark was called up to Congress last year, they started clamping down. They tweaked the AI to err on the side of false positives than to have false negatives. So they are much more comfortable purging the platform of people who are innocent of uh, violations of their community standards, just so they can find so they can have a higher presumably they will have more correct hits um, as to even though it will lead to more false positives rather than have um, a lot of correct misses, but a higher bunch of false negatives. So look, it's messed up because I'm not alone. So I start looking this up, and I'm like, okay, this is actually a problem. Like there have been millions of people purged from the platform for doing nothing wrong. Like I'm looking at like Wired. If people know Wired magazine, they're also on YouTube. Like I saw people complaining like just post like parents merely posting pictures of the children were getting kicked off the platform saying that they were engaging in uh, exploitation of a minor. I'm like, what? For posting pictures of your own children? Like, wow. Like, at this point, people should just abandon Meta. It's not worth it. It's really not. Like, I understand this. You know, a lot of people have businesses involved. And again, it hurts me because I've been on it for 21 years. I've literally been on it since the beginning when they made Facebook go public outside of Harvard. Because, like I said, when it was first with Harvard, it was just like one of these little goofy little uh, hookup type websites where it was like hot or not. And again, for someone to be talking about community standards and guidelines when he started his whole fucking company by hacking into Harvard's um, information science database and stealing all the information of students on campus to rate, so that he could put them on his website and have other students rate whether they thought they were hot or not. That's crazy as fuck. Like this guy is not a responsible person, and he doesn't give a shit about people. He come on, he really does not. And some people say, well, he did a little charitable nonprofit. His nonprofit is not a charity. His nonprofit was meant as a way to be able to be used as a tax shelter and to pass on his money to his daughter. So I'm gonna say this: fuck fuck Mark Zuckerberg and everything he represents, and everything he ever is or ever will do. He and every other autistic twit out there should never be in a position of leadership over other people. And I mean that. Fuck Facebook, fuck Instagram, fuck WhatsApp, fuck Oculus, and fuck anything else, fuck Threads, fuck everything else associated with him. Hope he does do MMA and gets his neck cranked. Fuck him. To accuse an American descendant of slavery of human trafficking on a website I was using for mortgage refinancing and to find re- recruits so I could have an office sickens me. And it's and to be accused by some fucking generative AI and then have it appealed and reviewed by another aspect of that very same generative AI with no possibility of a human reviewer. So so if this has or if this has happened to you or this does happen to you in the future, guys, launch a consumer complaint, which is what I've done. So I sent the complaint to the Maryland Attorney General, since that's the state I'm in, and they did respond back to me today. I sent it, I believe 2 3 days ago, and they got, took more days, but they got back to me. And this I'm gonna read the response to you guys. So this is likely what will happen to you in that process of trying to get your information. I mean your account reinstated. If I can just find my reading glasses here, I'm probably sitting on them. And again, guys, if you are posting, if you are if you want me to respond to you in a chat room, but you're not talking about my topic, then you need to drop a super chat, or I'm not going to respond to you. You need to drop a super gift. I need 10 super chats, or super gifts. You give me 10, you give me 10 super chats, so 10 super gifts. I'll answer any question. Oh, glasses right there. But until then, don't ask me anything that has nothing to do with my topic if you're not dropping a super chat, because no other streamer would. No other streamer would even respond to you unless you were dropping a super chat. So this is the response I got from the mediation unit, um, from the Maryland Attorney General to my complaint against Meta, just to let you guys know that this is real. It says, thank you for contacting the Maryland Attorney General's office. Let me grab some water. I'm sorry. Um, we have received your recent complaint against Meta. Before we can take any further action on your complaint, we need the following information. One, a copy of your ID and a copy of a bill showing your Maryland address. And two, a newly created email address that has never been associated with any other Meta account. Please create a brand new, as of today, email account and respond to this email with the associated email address. Please send this information to our office within 10 days. You are welcome to respond to this email address. Please keep the case number in the subject line. If we do not hear from you within 10 days, we will assume that you no longer need our assistance. Once received, we will send your complaint to Meta to encourage them to review your situation and provide a response. If this results in the company taking any action to address your concerns, please let us know so we can note that in our records. Your complaint has been placed in our files and is a matter of public record. Sincerely, Consumer Protection Division, Maryland Maryland Office of the Attorney General. So don't 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 let these don't let these little fuckers run rampant over you. Hey, I got the so don't let these assholes run over you. So that's what I will be doing promptly tomorrow. It's late today, so um I don't want to do it tonight. I'm just going to do it starting early tomorrow, and see where it goes. See if they reinstate my account, because again, I have 21 years on that platform, which meant um, most of my means of staying in touch with people has been bundled into Facebook, unfortunately. Now they do let you download your information after they disabled your account. I don't want to regurgitate everything, Agatha. Like this I've been talking about this for 55 minutes. Is Um, but yeah, so I'll go over it later. But anyway, um, so yeah, that's I would encourage people to start gravitating away from Meta's platform to, and I don't even like TikTok, but at this point, I would say I'd rather people use TikTok than use Meta. I mean, you could accuse TikTok of a lot of things, but I haven't seen them. Um, but look at how loyal their TikTok's user base is. Like when they were about to get shut down, the users of TikTok went hard in the paint to defend TikTok. I guarantee you, if people went hard in the paint to get Meta shut down, you would not see their user base going um, feeling some sort of way about it. You'll have a few, especially the ones who have businesses on here, and that's pretty much the only reason why I even want my stuff reinstated, is because one, I have businesses connected with it, right? And again, I'm not answering any comments unless you drop a super chat that if it's not part of my topic. Don't ask me questions that ain't part of my topic unless you drop in a super chat. I need 10 of them. But Agatha, to answer my moderator Agatha, this is my tirade against Meta because they, you know, for what they've been doing to their users, they've been purging the platform of people who have done nothing wrong. They're, they have tweaked their algorithm to look for violations of their community standards and guidelines because of that because of the tongue lashing that Mark Zuckerberg got last year from Congress for failing to protect its user base, particularly the minors on there. I mean, first of all, should people under 16 really shouldn't be using it anyway. I'm gonna be honest. And in some places, in some countries, they have actually instated that you can't be using social media under the age of 16. Or you got places like China that allow them to use social media, but they put a huge restriction on the time that you can be on there. Um, in any case, Meta was was completely negligent in putting young people in harm's way just to drive traffic on their platform, both on Instagram and Facebook. So now, because of that, they tweaked their algorithm to find anyone who could be potentially endangering other people on their platform under their community standards and guidelines, even if they're completely innocent of that. And then the only appeal process you have is by the AI itself to review the algorithm, which again is AI. You got AI double checking AI, and then after that, there's no further action that you can take. So people have been wrongly kicked off the platform, hundreds of thousands of people, because I think as of the past 5 months or so, I think they've gotten rid of literally millions of people, some who were clearly in the wrong, but many who weren't. I think they've kicked off. It depends on the most recent numbers. I don't know if it was like 15 million people or 100 million. I think the latest count was about 100 million people. And yes, out of that, clearly some people deserve to have been kicked off of it. However, when you're kicking off innocent people and they have no way to appeal it, that's a problem. And then when the only appeal process is a generative AI double checking that their algorithm, which is also generative AI, that that doesn't leave much confidence in it. And again, if you have business tied up with Facebook, like which a lot of those folks have, then you've potentially ruined their income. Like I do have businesses wrapped up in Facebook. I had two. One, again, I had a business page, which led to the so-called violation from a post from July 1st, 2023, on my business page dedicated to mortgage refinancing and direct marketing, claiming human trafficking promotion. What? Again, why? What? Who would do that? And then why would I do that when it's under my single member LLC and under my NMLS ID, which is which is your licensing for people who do bank loans and stuff like that, bank loans and mortgage loans, stuff like that. Then I have a second business which is tied into the Philippines, which is my home service, home service therapy. So I don't like this AI. It's better to speak with a live person. There's no, you don't have that ability. This is internet. It's not, you're not calling. This is not, this is not 1990s where you call, to speak with a customer rep. There is no customer rep on on social media. You're dealing with Meta's AI. There's no human reviewer. That's the problem. And so now, even though my home service massage spa page hasn't been shut down because it's tied to my wife's account and not mine, that they've deleted stuff on there, but they haven't taken it down. But I have no way to access it because I can't get on Facebook, and I'm not gonna open up a dummy account just to do so, because then that would just justify what that would that would justify them and shutting me down, saying, well, if he's starting dummy accounts to get on Facebook, then he must be up to, then basically he was doing stuff that was sketchy. So I'm not going to start up a dummy account just to access that information. um in in any case, the reason why it's important that I have that in the Philippines, that I have a business page on Facebook, is because in the Philippines, that's how most people access the internet in the Philippines, is through Facebook. Like, for most people, Facebook is the main utility in how they access the internet. So like, say if here in the States back in the day, you were under Bell Atlantic for your telephone service. Like, Bell Atlantic was your utility for using the telephone, right? For making telephone calls. In the Philippines, for most people, Facebook is their utility for accessing the internet. That's why most businesses in the Philippines put design pay design business pages on Facebook to be accessed by other Filipinos. So if that was to get shut down, I really wouldn't have a way to really be in contact for people to advertise my services, because most people aren't going to go to independent websites. Because we were going to start an independent website for it. I was planning on doing that 3 years ago, but it didn't really make sense because most Filipinos directly engage with businesses through Facebook. The reason most people engage with the internet through Facebook in the Philippines is because it's free. That's why it's a utility. They've made access to Facebook free there. At least the data, not the other parts that you still got to pay for, like um, you know phone, or graphic, stuff like that. Just basically text data type stuff. So, being that, again, that is their main utility for accessing the internet because it's free over there, that is the best way to advertise to people. So being cut off to that means I won't be able to even run my business there, and I can't ask my wife to do it because she has a full time job working for a prominent financial institution, which I've talked about in the past, but I'm not going to bring up again because I don't need people looking up her personal information and where she works. There's too many weirdos on here. So that's where it leaves me. So I'm going to address this mediation through the Attorney General's office of the state of Maryland, where I currently reside, and see if they can kick up that review process to Meta so that they actually have a human reviewer come in and see that they've made an error on their end. And like I said, the problem is the fact that they rely on AI to check AI, which can't catch obvious errors because they're they tweak their algorithm just to look for certain keywords or placements of things. It's, you need a human reviewer for something like that, right? So in any case, that's where I am, guys. So I'm about to go. I mean, now if people want to take questions or whatever, if this germane to the topic, if you don't have a question that's germane to the topic, then you can drop a super chat. And like I said, so how are you going to get your pages reinstate? What are your recourse dealing with Meta? I just said like you so you came in at a bad moment because I already explained it. So I've appealed to the Maryland Attorney General's office and lodged a consumer complaint. They responded to me and told me what to do. They want me to set up an email that's not. They want me to to create a new email address that's not so that it's not tied to Meta in any sort of way, and to basically give them a copy of my ID and a bill showing that I actually reside in Maryland and forward that information to them under that new email so that they can they can get this the ball rolling and kick this up to Meta so that they can give me a human reviewer. So that's that's basically it. Unless it's Meta Eagles shit. It is. They're trash. But again, the reason why they were so useful is because, like I said, I've had a 21-year history working with like using their platform where basically all the most of the news that I get was through them. When I say news, I mean like actual like news sites, like um, you know, the Washington Post, New York Times, the Boston Globe, the L.A. Times, Wall Street Journal. Um, a lot of news I do get through YouTube as well. So because I started moving from print, from like printed media to digital media, I mean not from like text from text media to like video media, um, it doesn't hurt me so much because I can still get a lot of that same stuff here on YouTube. Shout out to YouTube. YouTube has been treating me well. Um, they slapped my hand a few weeks ago for saying something on one of my live streams and took it down. But all in all, YouTube treats their users better than Meta. On Meta, you're they don't consider you a user; they consider you product. And again, the fact that most of Meta's, like I was telling a friend the other day, the fact that most of Meta's business is through selling advertising, uh, doesn't bode well if most of your users don't want to engage with your platform. If you purge people from the platform or people just don't want to use it, even if they are still actively members on it, then advertisers aren't going to pay for space on your platform, knowing that your user base isn't going to engage with their advertisements. The only other So I mean, they still have other avenues for making income. Obviously, like they sell all your personal data to data brokers who then auction off your information online, and then those same people will also probably um, sell your data as well, on ad infinitum. So that's another huge source of revenue for them that they've been doing since like what 2005, 2006. Um, and then of course when they went public, they make money through their stock or whatever, and through their business ventures that tie with Meta. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs of how they make money, but I'll just say that the largest source of revenue for them is advertising. And if you have a user base that no longer wants to engage with the platform, then that advertising dries up. So hopefully that's what happens to them. And again, I don't care if I'm mean or people or I get demonetized, but like I said, autistic idiots like Mark Zuckerberg shouldn't be in positions of leadership because they fundamentally don't know how to relate to people on a human level. Melissa says, of course, make it as difficult as possible to even leave the platform altogether. Make more emails to verify and sign in to delete if wanted. Cool trick. Hey, lose one consumer, gain more email. Uh, Melissa says, hi, I got that. I'm excited because I have a strong disdain for Meta. Yes, it's the future, but look how they treat the consumer. We have the power. And then, like I said, I was saying like an hour ago, they renamed themselves Meta like 10 years ago because they thought the future was the metaverse. Not one person was gave a fuck about the metaverse because they were going to do it, and then because they were going to do it, then Google also had their own version of the metaverse. I think um, Twitter or someone else were going to do some version of the metaverse, but the average person considered the metaverse either creepy or useless, and so it never launched off. And they're still trying to promote it. Then they even had like the meta glasses where you can engage with the metaverse and have these little meta profiles. People are digitally raping women on the metaverse, which I don't know if that even counts. Like whatever. Um, but they had the little stupid meta glasses no one bought. Um, they were selling virtual retail. And you guys probably think I'm kidding. I shit you not. They were selling they were selling virtual real estate in the metaverse. Yeah, most people laughed at that. I know I did. Um, that shit never kicked off. And he invested like, and I'm talking about Cuck, Zuck the Cuck invested what like hundreds of millions or even $1 billion into the metaverse, and it was a fucking flop. And he should have known it was a flop because no one was. Again, if he was a human and not some little autistic jerk off, he would have understood that no one was on board with the metaverse, no matter how much promotion went into it. And that's why he went from calling it his company Facebook to Meta. But fuck Mark Zuckerberg and everything he represents. Fuck all his companies. Fuck his Meta platform. Fuck everyone that works for him. And I hope he goes broke. Fuck him. Like, this is so true, Moonlight. I too too they're not consumer friendly. Melissa is exactly right. Contrarian, remember how excited they were a decade ago. Metaverse Zuckerberg is a hypocrite and cringe. I think since they acquired WhatsApp and Instagram, things started to go downhill. Yeah, remember when they first acquired WhatsApp, they were making people pay for it, and people abandoned WhatsApp. And the funny thing is, he was actually doing them a favor by making them pay for it because the fact that he was making them pay for it meant that he wasn't going to be collecting their data on there, or at least he claims he wasn't. I don't trust anything Zuckerberg says or anything connected with Meta. I think you would have been paying for it and they still would have been collecting your data. Although he claimed that by making WhatsApp uh, a a pay service, that meant that it would remain private. He said, "Oh well, I forgot they own WhatsApp. I thought that WhatsApp went independent. No, it was independent, and then he bought them back in I can't remember if that's 2016 or 2014. He bought them, but no, they started off independent, and then he bought them, and then a lot of people stopped using it because originally when he bought them, he was saying you had to pay for it, and he was saying the perks of it of paying for it is there would be no there would be no advertising and it would be completely private. But he lies because everything he said was private on Facebook was never private. I remember he first said that the the uh, the private groups were private. They weren't. Then he said direct messages were private. They weren't. Then he said uh, the calls and video chats were private. They weren't. They collect data on every single thing you do on Facebook. Everything. They collect data on even on your video chats. Even in your video chats. So if you sitting there, you know, beating off while your girl is twiddling her tweedles, they're collecting all that. And now they've added end to end user encryption on it, but that doesn't matter. Even that only means that other people can't access it, but Meta itself, they still access all that shit. Because that was one of their selling points for WhatsApp, that it was end to end user encryption. Yes, it is, but they themselves still collect the data. There's nothing private. Any service you get for free online is not free. You're paying for it in your personal data. No privacy. Privacy to be damned. And most people are willing to take that Faustian deal. So as far as Instagram, it got uh, well. I don't I don't know if it was better or worse under them, but I like inst- I didn't really start liking Instagram until they made it more where you could it wasn't just pictures, because remember how it was like 12, 13 years ago. It was basically just posting pictures and stuff. Like there was very little like means of like there was very little like communication back and forth. Instagram was basically just FOMO, like posting shit that you did that other people couldn't do, and that was it. Like there was very little like communication going on between people on Instagram back then. So I didn't really like it until it got more it got Zuckerized. But now Instagram is, turning into a lot of AI slop. And the funny thing is AI um cannibalizes the the uh the user base of Facebook. And I was telling my friend 2 days ago, you see there's a lot of crossover now between Facebook and Instagram. Like you post something on Instagram, it goes on Facebook and vice versa. And I was like, the fact that Instagram is cannibalizing Facebook's user base, and ba- both of them are basically losing out to like TikTok and Twitch. I was like, it's going to be a matter of time until, and I can see it happening within the next couple of years. That I think they're going to integrate Facebook and Instagram into just um one single app. And like I said, you can already see right now there's a lot of integration between Facebook and Instagram, but sooner or later it's going to become, at least I think they're going to become one app, unless and only unless the government comes down and breaks them apart, which I hope they do. He said YouTube's owned by BlackRock, Alphabet Inc., and Vanguard, same owners of Google. No, YouTube is owned by Google. Google, they call them, and they only renamed themselves Alphabet again, just like how Facebook re renamed itself Meta because they made they left Google as an LLC under their Alphabet as the corporation. But YouTube is not owned by BlackRock or and Vanguard. It's owned under Google. YouTube has been owned by Google since like 2006 or 2005. Trust me, I look at my when I look at all the stuff they made me sign as to become a YouTube partner. There's no part of it I saw that was owned by Vanguard or BlackRock, unless those are also owned by Alphabet. Now those they could be owned by Alphabet, formerly Google, but they're not part owners of YouTube. Melissa says you can ask ChatGPT AI and will tell you it communicates with countless AI, and they say human are beneficial and once surpassed will be kept and treated as fond pets. I wouldn't take that too seriously. Again, one, ChatGPT and other generative AI are large language models. They're not made. This is what I was saying before you came on the stream. Large language models like ChatGPT and Google Gemini and Grok aren't meant to be accurate. They're just meant to churn out huge amounts of information, and they only get self correction through human through interaction with um, with people, um, utilizing those programs. So the algorithms are self correcting gradually, but they weren't designed expressly for churning out for being accurate. They were just designed to churn out information. So any sort of information you get from Grok or Gemini or ChatGPT and some of the other ones out there should be always taken cum grano salis with a grain of salt. Is that 100% Meta will have its own everything all in one in your area of Meta will be your own virtual reality. But like I said, they tried to do that with Metaverse and it flopped. They're going to still try to push it because they literally invested like hundreds of millions to like $1 billion or $2 into it. So they're still trying to use it. And it's they've integrated the metaverse into again their algorithm. They even have like these new these avid like so you have like on Instagram and Facebook you can have an avatar just like on Snapchat, and so there's certain things you can do to have these avatars be more interactive, but to do so you have to actually sign on to Metaverse and start a profile there to get these interactive avatars. I'm like, I'm not doing that just to have some avatar shoot laser beams from its eyes, which is actually a real thing. You can have your avatar like shoot laser beams out of his eyes if you sign up to the metaverse. Like, no. Melissa, yeah, YouTube is owned by Google, which is parented by Alphabet Inc. Yep. He said, which Vanguard and BlackRock own 6% or more. A piece I meant. Um, they might have stock in Google. I don't think they have stock in YouTube. YouTube isn't a publicly traded company. Um, Google is. Well, actually, no. Alphabet is a publicly traded stock. because I had or still have. No, I don't, do I? Yeah, I don't think I still own any Google stock, but it's Alphabet, but they still have it under its original designation as Google. So yeah, you can buy stock in Google, you know, Alphabet that is, because it's a publicly traded company, and that's probably what Vanguard and BlackRock own a piece of is Google itself, not YouTube, because again, YouTube isn't a publicly traded company. I mean, I guess if you want to say by laws of uh, the laws of commutation or whatever, they own a piece of YouTube because they own a piece of Google, then sure. Um, um look at my going to my um so let's see, Apple. No, I don't have Alphabet. I have Alf American Express, Apple, uh, Coca Cola, Bank of America, um, Moody's. Yeah, I don't only Google that. I used to. Melissa says I don't take Rock or GPT serious. I have fun experimenting with questions. Yeah. Just fun to play with Sesame. I find more advanced than others. It feels I'll be investing in Alphabet Inc. this month. I used to, but I guess the reason I don't have any more is because I've only I'm only interested in blue chip stocks now, which is and I've tried to I've bought positions in I bought positions in equities that that pay um that pay investors dividends, and so all those dividends that they pay, I reinvested back to so through compound interest I earn more and more and more. Um, so this is not a financial advice, obviously, but yeah, I rather invest in blue chip stocks that actually pay investors a dividend, which is awesome. Like I don't know why this is not taught. Like to buy stock that actually pays you for owning a portion uh, of their equities is awesome, and then you can reinvest those dividends they pay you back into that very stock so that it keeps growing. So that's why I say I only deal with blue chip uh company blue like these blue chip companies that allow you that um give give investors dividends, pay them dividends for it for their investments. Outside of that, I have mutual funds that I'm invested in through my in my IRA in my in my IRA. But they're like big. They're all the and like I said, I keep it simple. The mutual funds I invest in are big index funds. So that takes I don't have to decide. Oh, should I get this? Should I get that? There's so much like stuff out there. I keep it simple. So I just invest in some index funds uh, in my IRA. I have both of my IRA is split between it's both Roth IRA and a standard IRA because you can do both because they both have different benefits to each the Roth and your standard IRA. So I have it split into two. And so like my the index funds I have are like Nasdaq, um, and some index funds that were originally part of USAA, but when USAA was under federal scrutiny, they sold off all their equities to Charles Schwab. So that's who I bank with now. Um, And so Charles Schwab redesignated those index funds under USAA under their name. So I have those index funds. So I have, some index funds that's managed by by Schwab. The ones that still used to carry the USAA name are now called Victory. um, but anyway, that's an aside, guys. I'm about to go, but basically, like I said, I'm telling people they should be leery of using Meta social platforms in general. Like I said, the thing is, if you're getting it for free, that means it's not free. You're paying for it in your personal data. But like I said, USA, sorry, not USA. Um, Meta is particularly insidious, and like I said, over the past year of 2025, they've been purging their platform of over 100 million people. Many of them uh, under the assumption that they violated their community standards and guidelines, although many of them haven't, and they wouldn't know if they did or didn't because they have no way to actually appeal the process through a human reviewer. Like once they claim that you violated their community standards and guidelines, they automatically delete the post, and then they say that you can't look at that post that they deleted because they removed it. So you can't even go back and see if it was something that actually ran afoul of their guidelines or not because they don't give you access to it anymore. And then they just say, well, you can appeal this, but the appellate process is through their AI itself, which doesn't make sense because if you're if your whole reason for wanting to appeal is that you think that their algorithm made a mistake, it should be kicked up to a human reviewer to see if that is the case, not to have the algorithm then kick it off to a different process within it that will review itself. That doesn't make sense to have the AI reviewing itself. Thanks, Melissa. Says W stream. So yeah, so like I said, it sucks, but like I said, the best way to uh, to teach meta lessons for is for its user base to abandon it because it will lose most of its money because it's not because the users are what's important to them. It's the advertisers and its user base are the product. They need they need those users to consume things on on Facebook and Instagram. They need them to interact with the platform to allow advertisers to want to buy up space on their platform. But if there isn't a lot of engagement with a user base, then advertisers are gonna pull back like they did with Twitter last year. But now the ironically the advertisers are coming back to Twitter or X, um, because they see that a lot of people are still actively engaging with the platform. Maybe they may be more right wing now, but so what? A engagement is engagement. The advertisers don't care about people's politics. They care that people will engage with their ads and which will potentially lead to sales. Melissa says, like my eldest told us, if it's free, it's not real. If it tastes phenomenally, spit it out. If it feels good, double think it. I don't know. Pussy tastes phenomenal. So, but let me stop. Let me stop. Bad contrarian. But and that's only if it's Asian. Oh, well, let me stop. Bad contrarian. Bad contrarian. Stop. Stop. Well, spicy thick Latina. But again, bad contrarian. Bad, bad, bad contrarian. Let me stop.
I guess this is why I got flagged on Facebook. No, I'm joking. Again, I got flagged on a mortgage refinancing page, a page literally set up to look for business for mortgage refinancing and direct marketing. There was nothing untoward on that page. The only thing I did post on there was a connect. I posted stuff from my home service massage business in the Philippines on there because at some point I was looking to put that under my single member LLC. Melissa, he's right though. I mean, but yeah, but yeah, that's crazy. So I will be continue with my mediation of this issue, and like I said, they might likely reinstate me after it's gone to a human reviewer. My I was still, but I'm still gonna be salty about it. I'm not gonna engage with the platform that much anymore, other than to stay in touch with my friends and family. I doubt I will likely post that much anymore, other than just interacting with all the groups that I was involved in there, including like with my alma mater. Um, and a lot of these pages dedicated to like uh 80s nostalgia into people who are in the collectible community like myself. So and I will have a future video coming up, guys, on my EDC gear. So, you know, a year ago I did one on my bug out bag, and then I had my wife do one on her on her hiking backpack. So originally I did a video. I made a video with my EDC stuff, but that was in the beginning of the year, and my former moderator and friend from Germany was supposed to edit it, and she never got a chance to. So then I was gonna just edit it myself. But by the time that she just sent the video back to me to 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 re-edit and stuff, I had already changed up half of my EDC everyday carry items. So I thought, well, instead of making it a long form video, I should just do it the same way I did my bug out bag and just make it a live stream. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do a live stream on my everyday carry items that I take with me when I go out. So I'll probably be doing that sometime next week. Melissa says probably lose my channel, but I'll post a link or something. Oh, he says special announcement. I'm gonna surprise you with a quick live tomorrow evening time, short stream live at a concert. Come say hi. Um, oh, remember what I told you off camera. Like I said, just make sure you got permission to show whatever you're gonna show. I'm not gonna. So I already know, guys, what he wants to do, but I'm not gonna ruin that surprise for everyone else. Um, I'm just saying, make sure you have permission from those folks prior to going live, so you don't get in trouble. Like you won't get in trouble with YouTube. You can get in trouble with, well, actually, you could get in trouble with YouTube because they might be, if you don't have permission from their management, those folks can, you know, start start problems. So because my I remember when my wife shared video with me, um, they demonetized that video. So I understood, but whatever. Anywho, um, I'm gonna go. Because I don't know anywhere after 6 p.m. Bangkok time tomorrow night, depending if it lasts. I'll stay on to midnight. Yeah, I might have to check that out myself. Um, so my wife and I were supposed to go live tomorrow, but we'll see because she's not feeling well. But he's just sorry for the plug. I don't know. Yeah, I'm taking your advice hard. I'm nervous even. Pause. But no, I mean, That's no, that's cool. You can plug. I don't care. Uh, I was just saying, make sure they don't have a problem with you doing so, and mention it in the live that you have just make if you do have permission, mention that in your live stream that you do have that party's permission to do so. Uh, but anyway, he said, yeah, I was thinking about everything, and you said, and I'll be in full alert. Yep, yep. All right, well, I'm out, guys. I need to drink some water, and I'm gonna talk with Mrs. Contrarian. But yeah, just wanted to say, meta some shit. Mark Zuckerberg sucks dick. He's an autistic twit that should have no leadership position whatsoever. He should be just stuck programming. He should just he should just be a software programmer. He should have never been in the leadership position of others. And the fact that he can have a company talking about community standards and guidelines where he started his whole company stealing everyone's personal information from Harvard's database so that he could fucking start a website judging people on whether they are hot or not. And fuck him. Anyway, I'm out. Thanks, guys. Bye.